Let me double check and make sure my mic is on. Green light. We green? We good? Okay. Let me double check. We are here for episode number 2 of the Japan According to Akil live show. Thank you guys. Okay, cool. Yeah, it seems like my audio is a lot better with the setup. I'm hopefully I'm closer to Wi-Fi as well, so I'm hoping that everything goes smooth. It looks a lot crisper. Again, it's not 100% smooth, but we're working with it, and we will work it out as we go along. So, but yeah, I'm popping up for y'all watching this after. Again, I don't expect any of y'all to pop up on live. I was really surprised and thankful for you guys, for several of you guys for popping in at the previous episode. Again, I told you before, I got really inspired to do this type of content on a regular basis, semi-regular basis, and I really have fun. With the last one, of course, the stream was a bit shaky, so I'm trying to set up different location closer to the Wi-Fi, different equipment, and I'm hoping this works a lot better for you guys and for me. Um, but similar to what we did before, I'm going to just be talking about a topic that I want to expand on a bit outside of the normal content that I do, so I can kind of free flow with you guys and let you guys know a little bit more about Japan, my take on it, similar to what I did on the podcast, but a lot more streamlined. Like I got notes, I plan stuff, because this is a show, and I want it to become a show, a regular show where similar to like a talk show that just you go to listen to. Ooh, ooh, okay. Mhm. Okay. Yeah, the stream was down for a second, but we're back in it. Let me just double check, make sure. Good. See, this is what all this is all about. Okay. All right. Now we're good. So I'm probably gonna cut that out. So welcome back. We're here for another episode 2. Like I said, I'm still working out the kinks of this whole thing. As you can see, I'm really trying to figure out exactly the setup of everything like that. But yeah, I'm happy to talk to you guys about moving to Japan. And is moving to Japan a decision that you'll regret? Basically the pros and cons of it. And I got this idea from a quick blog post that I found online. I'm probably going to try to remember to link it into the description. You can, if you want to read the full post, it's totally fine. But I'm just going to take some of the points from it. I outlined it, and we'll talk about it. And I'll give, as always, I'll give my take, based on my experience living here since 2004. If you're new to the channel, yeah, I'm married, 2 kids, dog, Japanese family. I've pretty much experienced single life, dating life, and married life here, and life with kids here. My whole adult life has basically been here, which is super weird, super weird. I can't even express how weird it is, but and it's filled with challenges and beautiful, wonderful experiences that it kind of shames me that I not shames me, but it's a shame that I can't really fully express to a lot of my loved ones back in my home country, or introduce and show them, the beauty and intricacy of life here that I get to experience on a regular basis. So maybe this is the best I can do, and hopefully, sometime in the future, as this blows up, it gets to a larger audience. Naturally, my family and friends back home will be able to live this through my not eyes, through my words, I guess. But eventually, I do. Just a quick preview of what's to come in 2025. I am looking forward to sometime next year, as this channel gets more traction. I'll ideally be able to start to adjust my regular day job. If you don't know, I'm an English teacher here in Japan, around making content to some capacity, and of course my family life, of course, which is first and foremost. And then be able to showcase more about Japan, do more gimbal related stream type stuff, and show more of the country, show more of the Tokyo area. Give more insights. I already got some ideas. I'm really looking forward to sharing with you guys. So that's kind of what I'm really hoping to get across to you guys. But of course, I'm recording this just like right after coming home from work. I was really wanted to, piggyback on what I was doing the previous night with my first attempt at a live stream show, and so I wanted to give it another crack. So I decided to let me just make sure everything. Yeah, sorry. Let me just make sure the stream looks nice, and which it kind of does. I'm kind of satisfied with the way this is looking. Just give me 1 second, please, just to make sure. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. Just give me 1 second. I just want to make sure this before I officially start and get into this. I want to make sure that this is going in the direction that I want it to go. But maybe my internet connection isn't really cooperating. I hope this is fine, but okay, I'm just leave this alone. I'm just leave this alone, and we're just gonna focus here. So anyway, back to the main topic of this time. So episode two, season one of the Japan According to Akil live show is moving here into Japan. And like I said, there are a few pros and cons to living here that I found in this really interesting blog post. I'm just gonna pull out from the subtitles is this yeah, subtitles as I always like to do, and give add my 2 cents on it. If you want to read more in more detail, the link should be in the description below. uh but yeah, let's just go into it because I gotta do family stuff after after this. So I didn't eat dinner, I didn't take a bath yet. I just like changed my clothes real quick and we got right into it. So um all right. So first off, cons, right? Living in Japan does have several cons, and living in Japan long term has several cons that you need to be aware of. It's basically, I think, an individual choice whether the amount of joy you get from living here is worth some of the cons that you face, and that I think comes in a lot of different packages. Your personality, your culture. What you want out of Japan, what you're willing to put up with for living in Japan. My threshold for BS, I think, is higher than many people. So I was able to find inner peace, I guess, here to some degree. I'm still searching for it to the full degree, but I guess that's you know a journey, not a destination. But but yeah, I grew up here, so I'm much more familiar with the ups and downs that come with living here, and I've been kind of resigned myself, not in a negative way, to accepting them. So one of the biggest cons you're gonna have to deal with living here is the language barrier, right? You're just in just you're gonna have to get used to in your everyday life. No matter how much you study Japanese, no matter how perfect it is, you one way or another you're going to have language barriers that you're going to have to overcome. Let's say, for example, the extreme end, your Japanese is perfect, right? And you say something in extremely perfect Japanese. You've been studying for years, you've taken classes, you know what you're doing, and you say something in perfect Japanese, but you're a foreign person. You might have a Japanese person who's like, I can't understand your English, what are you saying? And you repeat it to them and they just can't comprehend that you are actually speaking um, Japanese to them, like in a fluid, it just doesn't register. So of course you can deal with it on one end where you don't know how to communicate with people in your native language. They don't know how, they have no idea what you're saying. Or no, sorry, you don't know how to communicate in Japanese. They don't know how to communicate in English, and then you're just using hand gestures, or the communication breaks down, or it doesn't go as smoothly as you want. That's just something that you're going to have to deal with on a regular basis, on a daily basis, probably at some level or another. And you just have to adjust to it. And again, that's one of the small things, one of the small gripes that you're going to have to adjust to living here. It is what it is. Again, I'm very much accustomed to it. But if you're used to communicating, effortlessly in your native language, and that's really what you are accustomed to, and you're struggling to go outside yourself from that. This lifestyle might be a little bit of an issue for you. Um, Everyday language barrier in your career, in your business as well. Dealing with your colleagues, your Japanese coworkers, similar kind of thing. Speaking business Japanese, thinking your Japanese is good, but running into those kind of roadblocks on a constant basis or being humbled by Japanese people, even if you can communicate like, really, really smoothly, really, really well, almost perfectly, there's gonna inevitably in everyday life be those moments where you're kind of knocked down, bumped down a notch, and reminded that you're not a Japanese person. But it could be like one little small word, one little small mannerism that people kind of call out, or that makes you feel a little bit lesser than. It sounds a lot bigger than it is. For me, it's not really a big deal. It's just kind of what I sign up for. But if again your personality isn't really accustomed to that, you're used to just kind of being that comfortable in your own skin, wherever you go. Especially language wise, since that's what we're talking about, this could be an issue for you. And it's not something that really rears its head in the first couple months, maybe even a couple of years here. But over time, for example, I'm on 2 decades here. For some people, it does. It makes them bitter in some aspects. So that's going to be up to you, as an individual. I can't really make any blanket statements. Don't worry, it might sound bleak, but I'm gonna Memphis bleak, but I'm gonna get to other stuff later, the positive stuff later. So next, language barrier goes hand in hand with a cultural barrier, and similar things in everyday life. You're gonna be dealing with cultural barriers as well, where you understand a similar kind of thing. If you're not culturally perfectly Japanese, it's gonna stand out at some point or another. I was having a conversation earlier today actually about this same thing, and with someone again. I won't give details of the conversation just because, but I was explaining to the person like this is just something you're gonna have to deal with culturally. Being Japanese, in my opinion, is much more cultural than it is, citizenship kind of thing, right? You can be a Japanese citizen, but not culturally Japanese, and the cultural Japanesiness trumps everything in the big grand scheme of things, right? Um, being another cultural barrier you're going to have to deal with is learning how to be friendly. I put friendly in quotes, but you know I think I'm a friendly person. I'm a nice guy, but there are some situations where I'm just not in the mood to deal with stuff. I just don't want to deal with it. But you're always an ambassador here, and you're always there are always going to be eyes on you. I say the spotlight never leaves you here. You're always going to be under the spotlight in some form or another, and it can be a good positive spotlight or a negative spotlight. And how you deal with that is really up to you. Really, I try and deal with it similar to like being like a celebrity or something like that. I'm not saying I'm a celebrity. I'm not saying I'm a Tokyo rock star or anything like that. But you understand, like you gotta understand that like there are going to be eyes and ears. Oh, so sorry. I gotta move my laptop because it's getting too hot. Okay, there are gonna be eyes and ears on you wherever you go. That's just the way it is, right? So you just gotta accept it, or don't. I don't know. But if you're gonna live here forever, you're gonna have to accept it at some level, and you either accept it or it drives you crazy, basically. Career and business cultural barriers similar to the language ones, like there's going to be situations where you're way out of your depth in one way or another. How you deal with those situations for me is really a huge factor as far as your level of happiness and your level of progress and depth into going deeper into Japanese society. um, Again, like it's just something. It's a bottomless ocean of stuff. It's just gonna be always gonna be a situation, always gonna be an environment where you're out of your not out of your league, but just out of your comfort zone. But being able to function in an environment where you're constantly out of your comfort zone is a skill that you learn the longer that you're here, if that makes sense. Um, and so being able to function in those situations and thrive many cases in those situations is what you're going to have to learn how to do and going to have to just deal with on a regular basis. If you can, some people see it as an adventure. Again, sometimes that adventure wears kind of thin, where you just want to kick your feet up and be comfortable in your own skin. But but again, as I'm getting into my 40s, I'm starting to realize and look back on my life that one of the reasons why I was able to be, here for so long is that I was always kind of never fully comfortable in my own skin in an environment. I was always a bit, not completely accepted in a situation. Not like banished or anything like that. I'm all, there's certain factors in my upbringing and my culture and in my personality where even all my group of my friends, something was, poking out the side. You know what I'm saying? Like I wasn't completely in, line with the group ideals or the group identity. I was cool, I was great, I have fun, but there was always something a little bit different. And me being here for so long, like that's I think my norm, I'm okay with that, because I'm kind of more in my skin, if you will, or inside myself. So um, having that to a certain degree is going to be a very necessary thing for you here. So just be aware of that. Xenophobia, which is something you've probably heard or seen a lot of content about if you're watching this. Um, yeah, for me, again, being black, being from America, I would say like I call it blanket discrimination. It's like and you might have heard me say this before in other videos in the past, in the podcast in the past, that I feel like the discrimination I get is not as heavy as the discrimination I got in America. It's not like aggressive discrimination. It's just like you're not Japanese kind of discrimination. So, um, I, you know, I'm the foreign guy. I'm not the black guy. I'm not the American guy. I'm just the foreign guy. You're Japanese or you're not Japanese. You're culturally Japanese or you're not. I'm clearly not. And so that's totally fine with me. And a lot of the negative experiences I've had so far, knock on wood, in that realm have been not nearly as intense as some of the stuff that I had to deal with in the past. And not to give you I'm not trying to give you like a civil rights speech or something like that. I was born in the 80s. I lived in Washington D.C., Chocolate City, in the 90s as a teenager. So I went to university and a predominantly white university where I had to learn cultural norms. I had to learn, a lot of things about a lot of things that I was not aware of at all growing up. I kind of heard about it and saw about it on TV, but I was very much insulated from. Um, I don't want to use a racism word, but from any type of like friction between races and cultures, if you will, because I was just in around my people the whole time, and I was very much an individual without knowing I was an individual. I didn't feel like I was a minority ever until my first day of college. Actually, I stepped on campus and I was like, uh-oh. So, by the time I got here, it wasn't such a big deal because I kind of got over a lot of all that had to get through. Not over, I had to get through a lot of rough times in my own skin and outside dealing with other people for the years that I was in university. So by the time I got here, I was kind of like, yes, I made it, and the stuff that I did go through for the most part, I was able to like roll with, and it was more growing pains of me in life, growing from like a young boy college student into like a man, grown ass man. you know, that was probably more of a challenge for me. But again, this is really comes down to the individual, your personality, your history, your tolerance for BS, your um willingness to bite your tongue in different situations. Like all of those things I can't really answer for you, and I can't really make like a blanket statement about. It's going to be really be up to you, up to you know something that you just won't know until you get there, until you get in certain situations. So yeah, that's kind of one of the things. Next up is loneliness. Yeah. Again, like I said, I'm very much equipped to deal with loneliness just from my mental makeup. So I don't really get lonely. I did my first few years here a few times. Like I remember, like on my birthday, I think I got lonely a couple times. Um, but like, yeah, some people do become like lonely alcoholics. I say, I say, like they end up just drinking themselves into a stupor every night, just to run from the issues that they have with living here, and they're too maybe I don't know, too afraid or too whatever to go back to their lives in their home countries. But being can you stay in your own skin? Can you live without? Can you like actually function without talking to people for most of the day, maybe even all day sometimes, unless you are actually going out and doing stuff. Although, or meeting friends and stuff like that. Do you have to have people around you all the time? Right? Do you have to have, I mean, I'm a city kid, so I like to be around people, but I like to be in the city seeing stuff. I don't need to have like my friends around me all the time. I like to do stuff on my own. I'm very self-sufficient, and are you that type of person? If not, then living here forever might be something you grow to regret and you grow to resent. If once the 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 pixie dust of life in Japan kind of wears off and it just becomes everyday life here. Everything isn't magical if you go to Tokyo Disney, if you live in Disneyland. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm pretty sure the people who work in the rest of the back of the restaurant, cleaning the toilets, don't feel the Disney magic every day. I'm not saying Japan is like a toilet, but you kind of get what I'm trying to say, right? All right. Next is lack of employment options. This is a big one that you're going to have to get over, right? Depending on a few factors. Again, depending on how you come into Japan, depending on what you do when you first get to Japan, and depending on your personality, your motivation, your tolerance for BS, and a lot of other things, right? I mean, you can hit the wall, you can get pigeonholed, you can, get stuck in a dead end job or dead end career or what you think is a dead end career. I was in that boat as well, and trying to find what I wanted to do, and luckily, being able to make some other right decisions that give avenues and possibilities for the future. But um, it can be pretty rough. In my early 30s, it was pretty bleak for me, where I was just like, yo, what am I doing? And when you realize you're in it for the long haul, and then you start looking down the road of the future and being like, yo, where am right now and where I'm going, is that a line I really want to, walk for the rest of my life? And for some people, when they start looking down there, it's not that pretty. So, and that might be something that people learn to start to regret when they're my age, in their 40s, in their 50s, maybe even their 60s. That you had kind of fun, but once things start getting real, might get real. you know. This is oh no, oh no. Okay, see, I just did all that for nothing because the microphone was totally fine. I'm paranoid about this mic, so sorry about this. Let me try and get this back together. Um, give me a second. Yeah. Okay. Sorry about that. I'm just gonna leave them. If it cuts off, it cuts off. Whatever. Okay. All right. So those are the cons, right? Now let's get to the pros. I said I'm lying to myself. Same thing. Let's see. Look at this. Look at this. Look at me. Look at me. Terrible. Yeah. Again, this is all a process. This is all a process. This is episode 2, y'all. So watch this later. This is episode 2. Okay. So, okay. All right. So here come the pros, right? The pros that are to your advantage, and for sometimes some surprising ways. And the first couple repeat: language barrier, cultural barrier, right? Um, I enjoy. My guilty pleasure is using my language as a shield. Now, the language barrier as a shield. Now, I don't want you to be in an assholish kind of way. I use it in a way that's respectful of Japanese people and Japanese culture because I am a guest here. I do have met and have heard stories of foreign people who use the fact that Japanese people don't speak English in a very brutish, assholish, condescending way. Me, I just play the stupid foreigner. I don't know what you're talking about. Like, I don't understand Japanese. And like, huh? Give a little confused kind of what you talking about, Willis face. And yeah, it works a lot of the time. Like, of course, selectively how I do it. But in mildly unpleasant or annoying situations, it's really nice to have that card to play. Um, again, using I use the language barrier in an opposite way. In the past few years, like in my mid 30s, it kind of clicked to me that for networking, like my native English ability, and the fact that I'm sorry that I'm American, it can work in my favor. And sometimes where it can put me in rooms, in situations with people that in America I would have a really tough time sitting next to and having their ear, and after that it might get me in the door. But of course, my without bragging, social graces, cultural awareness, language awareness, my hobbies, my interests, respect for other people will get me further along in different relationships. And I was trying so hard to fit in the mold of what I thought I needed to be here, that being myself and being around people that I wanted to be like, and shining in that way again, because the spotlight's always on me, has allowed me to develop and cultivate some relationships that I really and friendships that I really hold dear, and that I've been able to learn tons from, right? They're helping me on my personal journey. People not doing stuff for me, like, but it's helping me on my personal journey a lot. So that can be something that I do not regret about being here. Again, cultural barrier is lower expectations for you is something I love sometimes. Like there are some situations where I see like the Japanese person next to me getting a whole bunch of flack. I'm like, ooh, I'm doing the same thing, but he's a foreigner. And it's like, okay, whatever. Sometimes it's like, what? But it's like, okay, I'll take it. I'll take it. I got no ego about that thing. So, um, being in those type of situations as well is sometimes quite a blessing, right? I'll save this last one for next one because the best for last. Safety, safety. We talked about xenophobia and other things, but man, I'm black. I'm naturally apprehensive of the police. Okay, I'm sorry. I am in America. I'm apprehensive about the police. If I see police behind me walking around, I'm like, yeah, oh, right. But here, like, no, like even I've said before, all of my most unpleasant police interactions here have been not that unpleasant at all. And the one thing I drive in Japan, there's no driving while black. Like, let me tell you, the other day, like, I parked on my way to work because I park a little bit away from the train station. Um, and so I parked and I was switching my shoes in the parking area. And like I had like a mask on, like a face when I was recovering from being sick. So I had a little mask on, but I had it pulled down and I had like the dome light on. And I'm like looking down, changing my shoes. And I look out the corner of my eye, and normally there's not really a patrol car there. I see them occasionally, but not that often. And there's a police patrol car like cruising right by me. Now, if I was in America, I would be like, bracing for them to stop and get out the car and start like, um, basically like, what are you doing here? Asking me a bunch of questions. But they just roll right past. I know they saw me. They just roll right past. And it was just like, oh, okay. Like, um, unless you're blatantly doing something illegal or suspicious, like the police generally leave you alone in most situations, you know, or me at least. I'll just say my personal experience. Like I can't speak for everybody, right? It's not a perfect world. Of course, it's not a perfect country. It's not utopia. And yes, those kind of unpleasant police interactions do happen, but it's been like a bicycle or something like that, or one overzealous young cop who does something, but they're not like throwing me against a building and threatening to break my knees, or putting like something to my head or anything. And then they're not reaching for their rifle or anything, like their pistol or anything like that. It's totally fine in that sense. I've never felt concerned about my personal safety around Japanese police. Let me say it like that. I've never felt intimidated for my personal safety or my life around Japanese police. Let me say it like that. So I think that is fine. I'll take that, right? um, just another thing, safety, just being able to go out alone, going out by myself at night. Going out to a nightclub by myself, a bar by myself, without any, in getting drunk, going back home. While I hate to say it, sometimes passing out on the street. Like, don't recommend it. I'm not happy I've done it in the past, but yes, passing out in the street, like, oh my gosh, I gotta get home. Like, where I probably end up, butt naked, you know, butt naked and beat up in the past. If I were in America, I got home totally fine. Oh my gosh, my phone, my wallet, everything's there. A bottle of water next to me. People kind of concerned about me sometimes. Like, yeah, I'm not saying it's a badge of honor. I don't think it's a good thing, to be like that out in public, in some of my more reckless nights out. But yeah, I really never really from besides like a natural disaster from like a man-made situation. I've never feared for my safety here in 20 years at all, right? And which I think is a blessing. And cost of living. So I put cost of living. Tokyo is a very expensive place, but um, I do think that Japanese the standard for life, and this is a whole nother topic which we'll probably get into um in earthquake. It felt like an earthquake, a small earthquake. But we'll get into in other episodes because I am going to expand this especially live streams. Again, I have more freedom. We're not only going to talk about girls and partying, we're going to talk about economics and politics and life and sometimes history and things like that. Wide variety of things about here in life. I think this is the best forum for me to do it. I'll be more surgical and targeted with my content, but here I'll just pick a theme and we can kind of go off on those things. But yeah, life here is a lot more Spartan. So like minimalist, if you will. Even like wealthy people, if you look, have a lot less stuff. So the mindset is more deflationary because Japan was in a deflationary place for about 2 decades. So even though all across the world there's inflation, it doesn't hit like like I'm hearing, seeing, I'm sure it's hitting in other parts of the world. So also you have like high cost for a high value for a lot of low or free cost things. You get a lot more bang for your buck here. Customer service, quality of items, things like that. And quantity, not as much, but quality, yes. In what you get is good here. And since you're getting good quality things, and life is and lifestyle is not as is a lot more frugal or toned down. You don't need as much to keep you happy. Of course, life gets more complicated as you go along, but that's a whole nother topic. So I'd say cost of living, in general is great here. Of course, the yen is weak, so now importing things is a pain. But just like Japanese things and things like that, the amount of stuff I gotta pay for healthcare, stuff like dental is a lot lower, a lot more affordable. Like a lot of stuff I don't really have to worry about as much, even though life is life and I'm life in it. And, it's not sweet, but it is, I think, a positive from what I'm seeing and hearing is going on outside of Japan. Now the last one, I saved the best for last, right, is Japanese people will find you fascinating, right? And Japanese girls, of course, will find you fascinating in some capacity. If you don't know what I'm talking about, please go back to some of my other videos. If you're not subscribed to the channel, please subscribe. I forgot to say subscribe, like, do all the other stuff. Leave a comment, do some stuff. Do some stuff to show me that you like this stuff. Okay. but but Japanese girls will find you fascinating depending on, of course, yourself, your sense of awareness, the type of girls you're going after, a lot of different factors. But generally speaking, more than likely, somebody in this country will find you attractive if you're a decently put together person with a decent set of stuff between your ears. You know, you'll be fine. And if also community have like the sense of community here. Japanese communities do find you fascinating if if you're accepted by a Japanese community. Like you have to be accepted into a Japanese community. You don't push yourself into a Japanese community, and that is a very subtle process that I'd like to probably break down another thing. Let me know if you want me to break it down on another live show. Again, I'm probably going to be doing these several times a week, but yeah, you know, and basically with the community, not really how to ingratiate yourself into a community, but a couple things to know. Like first off, s- sorry, said by the mighty Dwayne the Rock Johnson, you gotta know your role, you gotta shut your mouth. Those are two really important things, right? And you might be like, "Ah, don't tell me what to do." I'm just telling you, like being able to know when to be quiet and you know what situation and what role you have in that situation is a very, very important skill here in Japan, right? And if you're able to recognize, it's not going to be spoken, but when if you're able to recognize it, the community, because everyone else in the community generally recognizes that too. If you're able to do that, then the community is able to respect you. And then once they're able to respect you, they're able to get comfortable around you. And if they're able to get comfortable around you, they're able to, you know, give you a role within that community. And then once you have that, then you, of course, you get responsibilities and a lot of other stuff goes with that. That's pretty much a summary of what the process is. But it's a lot more nuances to it, depending on a lot of different factors, depending on a lot of different situations. But I think that's the general flow of how things go. Um, and yeah, but be knowing when to be quiet and knowing you know what your role is are the two main things that you're going to be able to do. That's going to have to do when you go deeper into any almost any type of community here in Japan. But yeah, so that's I think that's going to be it for today's show. Thank you again for watching. I'm going to leave another link here. I'm going to chop this up and put clips as well for you guys who haven't made it to the live stream. Of course, I know the timing of this one was terrible. Again, I just wanted to make sure I recorded this just to get the process going to see how this goes because I was itching to record this one. I'll watch it in post. You guys watch it in post. And let me know what you think with likes and comments and stuff like that. This will be a regular thing on this channel. I do have other videos I'm recording, so don't worry about that. But at least like once, twice a week, I wanna start pumping these out. So all right, y'all, I gotta go do family stuff. Holla at you soon. Peace.